We're live. Hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of NXTilosos, your weekly NXT review show here on BC WrestlePod. And I'm excited to be here. I am one of your hosts, El Jefe, known as Mikey in these BC WrestlePod, parts. And joining me this evening, he will be on a little bit shorter in a little bit, is my co-host Will. And we got lots of things to do today. So we are going to be covering the July 8th edition of NXT, as well as making our predictions for NXT's The Great American Bash, which is happening this weekend on Saturday. There's a lot of wrestling going on this weekend between a lot of companies, and I need them to stop putting things together. But more on that when we get to those predictions. But if you are new here to BC WrestlePods, I'd like to thank you for being here. We are a team of 12 individuals. Yes, there are 12 of us that review wrestling. We cover a whole bunch of stuff from the US feds like WWE, TNA, AEW, GCW, as well as Defy, as well as some of the international promotions such as Mystery Wrestling, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, CMLL, Progress, Stardom, New Japan, you name it. We got it all. So this is fantastic. And we cover a lot. But we understand that if watching full-length reviews is not your thing, because we totally get that not everyone can commit to watching full times and things like that. But that is okay, because we also recommend you following us on the social media channels because of the fact that we do a lot. And we have report cards as well as clips that summarize our episodes. So that way you are still informed, but not have to dedicate a whole entire hour. So that is all good with that. So we are here tonight. Again, we are going to cover NXT and we're going to make our predictions for Great American Bash. So this is going to be fun. But we also have some merchandise available to you at Fourth Wall / BC WrestlePod, where you can buy some fun merch. We also have collections like our Pride collection and our anti-authoritarian merch, where those proceeds will be donated to charities, which is fantastic, and we'd love to see it. But with that out of the way, let's just jump into it. So again, I will be covering NXT, and Will join me as soon as he's able to. But let's kick things off with what opened up the show last night, and this was a gauntlet match. So last week on NXT, Ricky Saints, formerly known as Ricky Starks of AEW, for those of you who might be newer to NXT, wanted a rematch with the NXT North American champion, All Ego Ethan Page, because the two of them have been going back and forth and fighting a lot. And so last week, Ethan Page said he would give Ricky Saints his rematch, but he would have to go through the gauntlet match, and he would have to beat all three members of the Vanity Project. So that is our WWE Men's Evolved champion, Jackson Drake, as well as the tag team of Swipe Right. Yes, you heard correctly. Swipe Right is the name of the tag team, which we love. So we already knew, we called this last week when we got the stipulation made, that we probably were going to get Ricky to be able to make his way through the Vanity Project in order to get to his match and his rematch at the Great American Bash. And sure enough, Ricky Saints did just that. So we are great. So yes, it is a tag team. So he had to go. So Ricky Saints had to go through all three members of Vanity Project, which includes the tag team of Swipe Right and WWE Evolved Champion. But all three members are part of the Vanity Project over in WWE Evolve, which is actually a lot of fun. It's a good watch. If y'all don't watch Evolve, you should go check it out. It's a lot of fun. So this is going to be fun. But of course, Ricky Saints makes it through all three members of the Vanity Project. This is actually a really fun match. Every time I see Vanity Project come to NXT, they always are a great time. Swipe Right is such a fun tag team. They are really good. And even our WWE Evolved Men's Champion is really, really good. Ricky Saints is able to get through all 3 members of the Vanity Project. And so, after the match is over and Ricky Saints celebrates a little bit, Ricky wants his rematch, and the stipulation was if Ricky was able to make it through the gauntlet, he got to pick the stipulation for the rematch. So at the Great American Bash, we are getting All Ego Ethan Page defending his NXT North American Championship against Ricky Saints in a Falls Count Anywhere match. We've been talking about this over the last couple of weeks in NXT. We're really hoping that this is it. This is the end. We don't want to see Ethan and Ricky continue to fight. We love both of these 2 individuals, but we do not want to see these 2 continue to fight. So hopefully at Great American Bash this Saturday, it is the end of this rivalry and both can move on to different things. So again, my final thoughts on this match is I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was a lot of fun. Ricky was able to beat the Vanity Project. Vanity Project was really, really fun in this as well. So this was a fun opener. And I agree. I love Ricky as well. I mean, again, I also watched AEW, so he is not new to me, but it's new to the NXT and WWE universe. I think with a little more work on his character, I think he will do amazing things. But yeah, so we're going to talk about this a little bit more later, where we are getting... Well, we make our predictions for Great American Bash. So this should be a good one. But good job to all the boys involved. This was a fun opener. These vignettes were silly, but I loved them so freaking much. So this is a 2-parter. We get Jordynne Grace working out in the gym as always, and she gets a phone call from Blake Monroe. And Jordan's questioning Blake, where are you, girl? We're supposed to be training for our match at Great American Bash. And Blake Monroe's like, yeah, we can work out, but let me guess, you're wearing a black crop, you're wearing a black sports bra, black leggings, all that stuff. She's like, Jordan's like, no. Well, okay. So, but we get the first part where Blake Monroe says that she has a car waiting for Jordynne to get in and to meet her where she's at. So Jordynne's like, all right, I'll bite. We're going to get into this. And so we end the first half of this little vignette between Jordynne and Blake with Jordynne arriving to her destination. It's like, you got to be kidding me. And then if we could have a to be continued underneath, we probably would have. This was silly, Will, but I thoroughly enjoyed the relationship between these 2. I really, really do. This was stupid, but in the best way possible.
It was just the right amount of cheese.
It really was. We're going to get into the other part later in the show, but this was a lot of fun. And immediately I know, it's like, Blake's probably not going to stay face long, but that is okay. I was like, this is how it always starts. We watch too much wrestling to know. We see the plot thickening. But we'll talk about the second half later down in the review. Because right now, we get this match. This is a rematch of sorts. Charlie Dempsey versus Tavion Hayes. This is the final thing for Tavion. If Tavion loses, he is no longer able to try to challenge to leave No Quarter Catch Crew. Very interesting tactics here from Charlie Dempsey, putting Tavion's leg and chopping it in the steel steps, being a little heely and doing things that, be like, I don't think that's legal. Yeah. Man, listen. Yeah. It's like, not Charlie. I'm like, agreed. Not Charlie, bro. Poor Tavion, man. He can't catch a break. He keeps losing. And it wasn't even Charlie submitted him. It was because Ren threw in the towel for Tavion. I'm like, Ren, no, what are you doing? I love you, girl, but no. Tavion is stuck in No Quarter Catch Crew. I'm like, I get it, but I kind of wanted to see Tavion go on his own like Miles is like currently right now. And I'm like, not Tavion.
Something big's going to happen later. Because, I mean, I get it. Miles just left. You can't have Tavion leave immediately afterwards. I get it. But I think something ugly is going to happen later. Other than Charlie Dempsey.
I'm very interested to see how Tavion and Ren's like on-screen relationship is going to work, because Tavion was not happy with Ren at the end of this match. And so now he's stuck in no quarter catch crew. Ren, your intentions were pure, my girl, but no. I was like, you should have given 10 more seconds. Tavion would have been able to get out of it. But unfortunately, Ren could not see Tavion continue to be put in the submission, so she threw in the towel. Match itself was actually pretty decent. I would love to see Charlie return to full heel, if I'm going to be honest, because him as a heel works better than what we've been seeing him as, which kind of like this in-betweener kind of face, but not really. Look,
has he put a face? I was like,
I said, or an in-betweener. Who knows at this point? But
okay,
I need him to tap into his daddy. I need him to tap into William Regal and just be a complete dick to people and wrestle. I was like, your wrestling's great, bro, but this character work is not it.
He is unattractive.
Yes, very much a fair.
I don't mind him as a wrestler. I actually think he's pretty good as a wrestler. I just can't look at him. Every time he opens his mouth and he talks, see, that's the other thing. Now, I will say he has gotten better a little bit. But for the most part, whenever he opens up his mouth, I just want to throw up.
Hey, that's totally fair. I mean, so we're probably going to see some development between No Quarter Catch Crew. A lot of these factions, man, are breaking up, which is kind of crazy that NXT is breaking up some of these factions. But some factions, I feel like, don't need to be broken up. Others that will, but aren't at the moment. We'll talk about them in a little bit.
Yeah,
but we move on. Yeah, we'll move on from here, because next up, I kind of want to see Hank and Tank and Javon as a little trio. I actually really enjoyed these three together. The Hank and Tank Express, Team Honk Honk, I guess, is what we're going with. So I guess
honk honk.
It's stupid, but it's right up my alley. I love Hank and Tank. They are dumb, but we love our dumb big boys.
Them. Absolutely.
And I love them with Javon. But here, Javon is hyping up Hank and Tank because they have an NXT tag team title match to defend their titles tonight against a certain group.
There was a funny moment. I don't know if you caught it, or you probably did, but it was when they mentioned the chair, and everyone was like,
they're like looking for chairs.
That was so funny.
So this was great. I mean, Javon is vibing with Hank and Tank, and then Jasper Troy comes out of nowhere and throws Javon into the wall. Hey, but you know what? We get a good back and forth for like 3 whole segments between these two. And it's not just one-sided. It's mostly one-sided, but Javon comes back with a vengeance. Which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know about all this. It's just... All it reminds me of, all it makes me think of, and I'm sorry, but it does, is angry black man who's just pissed at the other black man because he's got more than he does. And it's kind of, it wears on me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I think, this Jasper fellow, who I think is great. I really like him, but it's just like, we already have an Obafemi. We don't need another one. Get a new shtick. I need you to get a new shtick.
That's very true. So, I mean, one can hope. So, we're going to talk about Javon and Jasper throughout the episode. But, yeah, I love these three together. And you know what? Like we said before, Miles and Javon as a tag team also works for us, too. Because Javon could be paired with anybody, and we'd be here for it.
Yep.
All right, boys. We're going to come back to you a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you sent it to me, and I was like, I am also here for a Mike Santana and Joe Hendry tag team, if that's what we're doing. So we get this tag team match next. So this is the High Rise. So this is Wesley's faction with Tyreek Igwe and Tyson DuPont taking on TNA's Joe Hendry and TNA's Mr. Mike Santana. I love both of these men. I really enjoyed this match only because of the fact that I love Mike and Joe make a really good team, which I was like, You know what? We haven't really seen these two work together as a tag team, and I'm actually here for both of it. But I also got to give flowers to Tyson and Tyreek too. They are newer to wrestling, and I still love them, even though they're heels now with Wesley. But I love them. This was
They're
fun.
great. I mean, they're good. I like them too as wrestlers. I don't mind this. Funny thing is I don't mind this faction at all. I think this is
I love
pretty
this.
good one. Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, an all black faction. Let's go.
Yep.
So this is a fun back and forth. Ultimately, Joe Hendry and Mike Santana pick up the victory against High Rise. But of course, we could not have our TNA stars walk out just without any commotion, because then Trick Williams gets into the ring and High Rise and Trick Williams lay out Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. We are getting a TNA contract signing at Great American Bash for the match at Slammiversary, which is going to be buck wild. This is going to be wild. I was like, there's so many moving parts.
Yeah. I find it interesting that Mike Santana made the pin.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I was just like,
Does it mean something or does it not mean something? I don't know.
I'm going to be so for real. We're going to have to pair this with what happens tomorrow night on TNA to figure out what's going to go down. Because NXT and TNA got everybody crossing over from both sides. And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in our predictions for Great American Bash. Because what happens at Great American Bash and Evolution this Sunday is going to play a part of what happens at Slammiversary for TNA, which is wild. And I want to get Will's thoughts about this title versus title match at Slammiversary, which we'll get into a little bit later. But fun match. Trick Williams and High Rise layout, Joe and Mike. And we'll probably get something on Thursday between everybody involved. And again, the TNA contract signing is happening at Great American Bash on Saturday, so should be fun. Look, as a fan of Japanese wrestling, this little hype package showing all the people who are supporting Yoshiki Inamura as he's about to walk in to possibly become the NXT champion at Great American Bash. They had everybody here. They had Hall of Famer, the Great Muda. They had our WWE Women's World Heavyweight Champion, Io Sky. We also got some cameos from some of the Pro Wrestling Noah boys, in which that's the company that Inamura is part of in Japan. So, you know, we got Naomichi Marufuji, and then of course, you know, the Golden Boy also said a little bit in Kaito Kiyomiya. I was like, I'm a fickle fan. I want Inamura to win so bad, y'all. I'm not even going front. And who knows? Shawn Michaels has shocked the world before, like when JC Jane was the one to dethrone Stephanie Vaquer and become NXT Women's Champion. So who knows? But I was so hyped for this little package. I was like, you can't just. And plus, what I love too is everybody got to cut promos in Japanese, which is something that main roster needs to do more. Because NXT always be killing it with everything. I was like, just let them cut it in the native language and give me subtitles. Like, I'm good. I watch a lot of anime and Korean dramas. Like, we're good at reading subtitles. But I'm like, I was so rooting, and this was a fun lead into our segment we were going to get later. Josh Briggs, I'm going to have words with you when we get to that segment, though. I was just like, we were doing so good. But anyways, actually, let's just get to it now because that's what happened next. We get our final promo face-off between Obafemi and Yoshiki Inamura. Inamura is, I love the juxtaposition of his like side mohawk and he's in a three-piece suit, which was really, really nice. And Obafemi out here, I was just like, look, everything was going really good. They both went back and forth. Inamura wants to fight with honor. Oba respects that and will reciprocate that as well. I was like, ooh, we're getting an honorific fight between two cultures and two wrestlers who are big, meaty men as well. I was like, yes, Honor and Josh Briggs, I love you, but you fucked it up. I was like, not that it's like you fucked it up storyline wise, because then I was just like, here we go. Josh Briggs grabs the mic. He begins talking. I was like, what are you doing? You fucked up the plan. Like, we were doing so good. And then Josh Briggs has to enter the chat, as the kids say.
I had to do the whole white savior thing.
I was like, damn it, Josh Briggs, we were doing so good. But what I found interesting in Josh Briggs' little promo too is that he is going to be there to help and to be in Amura's corner. But I found it very interesting that we were using the terms like we and not he. I was like, oh, here we go, y'all. Here we go. I was like, it's about to be on and popping Saturday. It's going to go down. So, but everything ends up because Obafemi's like, Inamura, I respect you, but you need to get your friend out my face because we about to fight. Josh Briggs throws the first punch. Oba and Josh begin fighting. Inamura gets Josh away, be like, what are you doing? Obafemi hits Inamura and Oba fight. I was just like, damn. I was like, we were doing so good. I'm excited for this match though. I kid you not. I was just like, at first I was like, yeah, there's no way Obafemi's losing. And then I'm like, I don't know, y'all. We'll see. I still think
I don't
Oba might actually
know.
win,
I mean,
but we'll see.
It would be because we had, the whole TNA titles going from one different company to the next. So, Inamura's coming in from another company, being with NXT. So maybe they're going to just, hey, we've done it once. Let's do it again. So
why not?
Who knows? And I mean, I would be here for it. I would absolutely be here for it. And then have it like international, having it travel and people trying to take it. And oh my God, let me tell you, there's no better like advertising than that to get your company.
Yeah, have some of the Noah boys come over to fight, which would be fun. Have Inamura go places. That would be really fun. So, fun segment. Josh messed it up for everybody. And this is how we get our final moments for this matchup at Great American Bash. But otherwise, I've really enjoyed this promo between these two. This was my favorite segment. I don't care what nobody says. This was QAF, as the kids say. We get the second half of Spa Day for Jordan and Blake Monroe. At first, Jordan's like, girl, you know this ain't my scene. And Blake's like, just give it a try. Just do it. I was like, and just, I think it will work very, very well. And so they get... So going into this, they get, their nails done. They have a massage. They're getting like the foot bath and everything. And Jordan and Blake have a conversation about, Jordan kind of being more effeminate, if you will, I guess. Because as we all know, Jordan is little muscle mommy. Like she will bench press anybody. She will bench everybody, which has been really, really good. And so it's this segment was really funny because it shows the dichotomy between the two characters. Jordan, of course, is all athletic. She's pro bodybuilder. We all know this, but Blake is teaching her to relax a little bit, to, it's okay to get a spa, treat yourself nicely, all that stuff. She doesn't have to put on a front and be all raw about it. But at the same time, though, Blake also understands that, she also has to toughen up a little bit. Is this. And so I was just like, this was fun. These two are ready to go for Great American Bash. Both of them agree that they need to take the title off JC in order to bring the NXT women's division back to where it needs to be. So, which is a fun story beat because JC is kind of like this unorthodox champion and she's kind of holding it hostage. And then when we talk about what happened at the end, with Jordan and JC's interaction, talking about, the women's division is JC sees it one way, Jordan sees it another. I'm really excited for this match at Great American Bash between these two and Fatal Influence. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's also going to be very telling of what happens at Evolution between JC and Jordan's match for that title. And it also plays a part in Slammiversary, which we'll talk about when we do our predictions. But this was my favorite segment. This was really great. Will, any additional thoughts about this? Great. Give us more of this, NXT. This was enough silly, but I loved it. This was a fun little match. This was, I guess Kalani is now back to being kind of a face now. Somewhat. It's okay. we get Kalani Jordan versus the newcomer Lainey Reed. So Lainey has been in Evolve for a little bit, but now she's getting NXT television time, which is great. This is a really fun match. Kalani does end up winning, but of course, Thea Hale, she's a grown-ass woman, as she says. And she's like, oh, you thought I was going to let it slide after you cheated to beat me last week? Nah, girl. And she, like, beats up Lainey after the match. I was like, you go, Thea. You go beat up girls. She's like, oh, you. I was like, oh, you thought I was going to let it slide? Nah, that was the old Thea. The new Thea is going to give you this 5-piece combo and starts beating her up. I actually like Lainey too. I was just like, yes, we need evil Southern Belle character because we're kind of missing those right now. That twang in her voice, man. That twang in Lainey's voice. I loved it. Will, any additional thoughts to Lainey versus Kalani and everything that happened afterwards?
Yeah, I did. I was just happy my girl won. I have been and always will be a Kalani Jordan fan. And I just think she gets I think she always just gets the bad end of everything. And so anytime she wins, I'm here for it. So I was like, hell yeah, girl, get her.
And it's like, get her, Jay. We'd love to see it. And I do love that Thea is now potentially going to get a feud out of this too, because her and Lainey have been going back for like the last 2 weeks, which makes me excited. So the women's division, everybody's always doing something, which is great. We love to see it. Part 2, Javon is getting checked out and Jasper jumps him in the medical office, which was wild. I was like, I think this is the first time that we really seen a fight break out in the medical office. I was like, oops. Jasper's a big boy. He jumped on Javon like out of frame and everything. And Javon and Jasper continue to go at it. Security has to pull them apart. The doctor has to pull them apart, which is great. Round 3 coming up very soon, so nothing more to add to that. I really hope that this truly is the final part, as like we got in this promo. Shout out to Adriana Rizzo, though. I'm happy to see our girl back on our screen. We have not seen her since, Stand and Deliver back in April. So I'm glad that she's back. She actually she pulled a boss move, and she's the one that called all 3 of these boys down. She's like, listen, y'all need to stop getting crazy. And what I loved is she didn't play the trope. It's like, no, we're a family. We need to reconcile our differences. She's like, nah, y'all bitches need to fight because I'm tired of y'all fighting and ruining everything for everyone, including me. So this is going to be the final time. So all 3 men, well, let me correct myself. 2 out of 3 of the men had, their reasoning of why they hate the other's guts. Crucifino, I love you, but you are like the odd man out in this because you don't really, you kind of have beef with Stax because he left you dead in the desert. But why you got beef with Tony? Like, Tony more has beef with you. And I was just like, what? Because he doesn't trust you and now you're all mad about it? But it sets up now, I'm going to be honest. I thought we were getting this at Great American Bash. Nope, we're getting this next week on NXT television. But we're getting a triple threat. This is the final battle. And we are all moving on with our lives. So I was like, thank gosh, because I was ready for this to be over at Stand and Deliver in April.
Yeah, but we thought it was over, what, 2-3 times now?
True.
So I just, when this was happening, I was like, good God. What? Give me a moment. Give me a moment like this with some finality. Because we didn't get any finality in it. Because even Tony was like, I'm out of here. And I'm just like, what's happening? I want this to be done. I want the family to dissolve. I just, or either the family needs to dissolve or it needs to become something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Miss Thang, she should lead it, to be honest. And
yes.
And I don't know. It's driving me crazy. This whole storyline has played out, and it's been overplayed, and I'm ready for it to be done. Truly. And I love, the great thing is I love all these guys, but I'm just like,
we've been dragging it out for like 3 months now.
Yeah, it needs to stop.
It's like, we're good, y'all. We gotta move on with everything. We gotta move on with our lives. So we're getting this triple threat next week on NXT TV. So this should be interesting. And yes, I really hope this is the final part because I don't want to see this no more. Jasper storms the ring. He is yelling in the microphone about Javon. Javon jumps over security and like mollywops Jasper, which sets up their match for Great American Bash. Cool. Definitely is. It's like, oh crap, we got to make sure we fill out this card. Who is available? So I was just like, all right. I felt like we could have waited until NXT television, but that is okay. But yeah, go for it.
Why is this a thing?
I don't know.
Why is this a thing? Why is the new guy comes in, puffs his chest out, bangs a chair, whatever, and then all of a sudden he's got like a major match at a pay-per-view? I'm like, earn your keep, dude.
I was like, listen, I know you won that NXT contract. I'm gonna be so for real. Jasper, I think, is going to be a big star.
Because, me too.
But at the same time, I was like, he's getting so much screen time. Where is our female winner?
Yeah,
where is our girl who won her contract in the same vein? We saw her like twice. Once in a backstage segment, then she had a match, and we have yet to see her on NXT television. Jasper, he had his match. I thought we was like, oh, okay, no. Oh, okay. So Jasper is getting a lot of screen time, and yeah, I agree with you, Will. I get it. We got to get exposure.
And it's nothing against him, because I think he's great. It's like, you're a newbie. Why are you suddenly getting a match against someone who's been there for a while at a pay-per-view? You literally just walk through the door. And I mean, it drives me crazy when they do this. It drives me crazy. See, this is what I was saying. We don't need another Obafemi, because they did the same thing with Obafemi.
Right.
And I'm like, are you just going to treat all of the big, powerful black men the exact same? Is that what this is?
I was like, listen, I know WWE has a history. They always want these big, like, meaty monster men to be meaty monster things. But I'm like, we got to pump the brakes, y'all, because we have so many diverse wrestlers in here. Like, I want to see them push a high flyer. Like, give me a Javon, give me a Wes, give me, same thing with the women. Give me all the athletic, like, gymnastics. Dare I say it, I feel like the women's in NXT division, I feel like we always get more versatility, because the women, everybody's doing something. We get all types of different matches. Everybody's paired up with different people, and the men just feels very stale right now, because it's just like the lack of male talent right now is kind of crazy, because we got Oba, we got Inamura and Briggs, like in that storyline. Javon and Jasper are there. Hank and Tank are tag team. Ethan and Ricky are about to go at it again at Great American Bash, which we'll talk about during our predictions. But then everything else is like, we're lacking the boys. So like, High Rise has got nothing to do. Dark State has invaded TNA now, which was wild to see on last week on Thursday when I talked about it during Review Friday. I'm like, Dark State. I was like, oh, are they gonna set up Dark State versus the System? Because that would be crazy. I'll be like, I don't know if I'm ready for that, but stay tuned on Friday for that review. So, but again, Jasper and Javon get a match at Great American Bash. We'll talk about that more during our predictions, because right now, Tatum is officially part of the culling. Here's the thing. Her and Izzy, fantastic. Love that as a tag team. Hate that she's part of this faction. Not even going front. I love you, Tatum, but no. I have nothing else to say.
I can't get on board with this group.
I don't like the group. I like Izzy and Tatum. That's as far as I'm willing to go with it.
I just, this whole, I'm not even going to say the name, because it makes my stomach turn every time I say it.
Fair.
And I just wish they would get rid of that.
Kilt. Why is Shadowheart on my screen?
Fair.
I'm just, honestly, I would rather have them call them Shadow Heart than what their actual name is. I'm gonna be so for real with all of this. But again, I liked half of this faction. I really do, because Izzy and Tatum are great. I love them as a team. We got interesting stuff when they were beefing with, Soul and Zarya, and we still got some unresolved beef there, which is great. But I don't like these. I'm gonna be so for real. What I would love to see is Izzy kick the boys out, be like, "I played y'all, leave." And because it seems she's giving me like mastermind, and I'm kind of here for it. She's playing these boys and she's making them think that she's being compliant, but she's the only one making moves right now. And then we come to find out the boys weren't even the ones who attacked Hank and Tank. Tatum was the one who attacked the boys, which I was just like, listen, I'm all here for girl power, but if you I have to suspend my disbelief. I was like, Tatum's hot, I love you, but there is no way you should have been able to take out two grown men with a steel chair like that. Like, no shame. But then again, Tatum summons the darkness of her emo powers, I guess. I don't know. And I had to replay it because I thought I misheard it, but no, Tatum was the one who attacked Hank and Tank, which allowed, and Hank and Tank thought that the boys of this faction were the ones who did it. And I was just like, well played, Tatum and Izzy. So that's why I'm saying Izzy is playing these boys, which I love. But I don't want to talk about this faction anymore because I hate the name. I still think they should change it. I don't care enough because we're not doing anything with them. They're just in the shadows. I was just like, all right, what are we gonna do? Something? Okay, never mind. Fine, whatever. It is. Goes back to what I was saying before. The men's division is kind of like not thriving right now. I digress. We move on because we get into our final main event wrestling match of the entire night, our NXT Tag Team Championships. Whoever's in the graphics department, I love y'all, but we got to figure out different graphics because Mr. Sean Spears over here on the far right, I was just like, what is the shading? What is this? This is not great. At least Hank and Tank look decent enough, but yeah, this graphic department, we need to like not shade the baldness of the bald-headed people in this household.
He looks like an emaciated Zangief.
I was gonna say, I was just like, he's giving like Timu Zangief down. Like, but surprisingly, again, don't like the faction as a storytelling device, but this match was actually pretty good. I still wish that Hank and Tank would have opponents similar to Fraxium because they shocked the hell out of me with how fast and how speedy and powerful they moved against Fraxium at Stand and Deliver. And I was just like, now you're just giving me the big boys doing the big boys, but these big boys got hops and speeds and everything. So please, I want to see them fight. Like, bring in the luchadors from main roster because LWO is not doing anything. We got some Lucha Libre folks in Evolve. Bring them over to NXT. I want Hank and Tank to fight someone on the level of Fraxium to be able to give me that amazing match. That tag team match is still my favorite match from Stand and Deliver. Not even gonna lie, because I was like, oh, these boys have been holding out on us. But I was happy to see Hank and Tank retain these championships, which I was like, thank the Lord. Because if they lost these tag team championships, and there was a part of me that was like, oh God, I think they might actually lose. But thankfully, they did not. So Hank and Tank beat, and I have to say the name because it is, part of the official report card, but they beat the Colleen, which I was like, yeah, beat them to submission. But then I'm like, okay, then who's next for Hank and Tank? Because they've only defended these things twice. They defended it against Inamura and Briggs. They defended it against the Colleen. Who else we got in this tag team division? Like 4 reels. So we'll see what happens with all of that. Will, additional thoughts for our final match of the evening? Okay, cool. We can move on from all of this. So let's get into what closed the show because this is how I need every show to start and end. By the way, this picture of Ava be kicking, like, good job, graphics department. This is actually a really good picture of Ava. I was like, thank gosh. I'm not saying melanated people take better pictures, but melanated people take better pictures because I was just like, the shading works different. But Ava closes out the show because we get a summit for the Evolution Women's Battle Royale. So Sunday the 13th, there is going to be a women's battle royale. The winner of that match gets a championship match of their choosing at the next main roster pay-per-view, which is Clash in Paris, which is in August, at the end of August. So as soon as that stipulation got made a couple weeks ago, it was like, okay, none of the NXT girls are winning, unfortunately, because I was just like, that's a main roster pay-per-view. TKO, the company, would never allow NXT to be on a main roster pay-per-view like that. But Ava has selected 6 women to be a part of this women's battle royale to represent NXT, because this is going to be a battle between all the rosters. So this is NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. So all 3 brands for WWE. And Ava lets us know that the 6 women representing NXT in this battle royale are going to be Miss Jada Parker, Tatum Paxley, Izzy Dame, Lola Vice, Lash Legend, and Kalani Jordan. I was like, yes, melanated queens, and Izzy. Hey, you know what? Izzy is giving me the same energy of that meme in the TikTok. It's like, you are African American plus Mark, but we're rocking with Mark because Mark has been rocking with us. So I was like, okay, this is a great choice. And as soon as those names were announced, though, Fatal Influence comes out. They talk about the women's division and, like, how do I say this in the politest way possible? The promo did what it was supposed to do, taking women's wrestling back a couple of steps, because it was all about the, vanity of it all. Nobody in this roster is worthy of this championship. I was like, good job, JC. This is what I need to see from you. Be a complete turd of a heel, which we need, because you are the bad guy, and nobody wanted you to beat Stephanie, and you still did. So you need to play up this angle because it's good heat. But then Jordan comes out to correct it. She's like, no. You are not going to be like that, JC, because you're being a piss poor champion. Because Jordan says that this women's division here in NXT is probably the strongest thing out there. And all these women are inspiring and everything. And you bring the NXT Women's Championship to a base level, and you're degrading it because of what you stand for and what you're doing with it. And that's why come Sunday at Evolution, I'm going to take that title to bring prestige back to this championship. And I'm like, I swear to God, NXT, if you do not let Jordan walk out Sunday as champion, I'm going to be like, what are we doing with our lives? So, but then everybody starts coming out. Lash Legend comes out with the skirt. I was like, I love you, Lash. Never change. So she talks about how she's going to be the winner. And then NXT, and boys everywhere, and girls, because we don't discriminate here, lost their absolute mind because we get an NXT pop-up appearance from Stephanie Vaked. The NXT crowd lost their damn minds. I was just like, oh, Stephanie, I have missed you on NXT television because main roster has kept you off my screen for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, I don't know why. But she's like, no, I'm going to win this battle royale. And I was just like, yes, you are, girl. Because we did our predictions on Sunday, and I picked Stephanie to win the battle royale to go and face off her championship at Clash in Paris. But then, of course, we get a bunch of other women, like the Dungeon Dolls come out. So that's Maxine Dupree and Natalia come out saying they're going to win. Jada gets on the mic because now all the women from all the rosters are coming down. Like, we see Julia, who is our new Women's United States champion, which was fun to watch. And then, of course, we only end one way how when we get these summits, as we always do in NXT. We get a big old brawl. We get a big old fight. So we close out the show with girls are fighting, and I'm here for it. Because these are great. So it's just like, hey, so we shall see. Sunday is Evolution. This Battle Royale is happening Sunday. So the WWE boys will be doing a watch along on Sunday. But that is how NXT goes off the air this week. This is a very self-contained go-home show because this is, we have Great American Bash coming up on Saturday. So with that being said, let's jump into it. So as we normally do here for our, predictions, a bunch of the major promotions here have a predictions league. And so I'm sending the predictions form into chat. Well, in the text thread, so we can start filling this out live on the air. But we like to participate in our little predictions league. We have one for WWE, AEW, TNA, and NXT because those are the 4 that are very consistent with pay-per-views. And so, funny enough, this is the second PLE of the year for our prediction season for NXT. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the matches. We're going to give a little bit of how we got here, and then we're going to make our predictions. So I did not include, but we are getting a TNA World Championship contract signing for the match happening at Slammiversary in 2 weeks between Trick Williams, the NXT representative, who is also our TNA champion, which is kind of crazy to say, and TNA's Mike Santana and Joe Hendry. So this should be fun. But let's get into the matches. So again, we're getting the contract signing. Somebody's going to go through the table. It's always how it goes. Somebody or everybody goes through a table. But let's get into this first match. This is one of the only matches that doesn't really have. This is one of 2 matches that don't have any stakes to it. This is a tag team match where we're getting Fatal Influence, which is going to be our NXT Women's Champ, JC Jane, and Fallon Henley taking on Jordynne Grace and Blake Monroe. Because this is Blake's first official match in NXT, I don't think that they would allow Blake to lose in her first match. So I'm going with Jordynne and Blake. But that also makes me very scared for Evolution because I'm figuring if Jordynne wins here, I don't know if she's winning on Sunday. But if Fatal Influence wins here, then Jordynne's probably going to win. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I got Jordynne Grace and Blake Monroe here because I feel like storyline-wise, this is the best thing for it. And because no title is on the line, it's a fun storytelling device where JC lost that Great American Bash. So how is she going to handle, with her title being on the line at Evolution? We're going to find out. Will, who you got for this one?
I'm going to pick Jordynne and Blake. Because I agree, because if there were stakes involved, then I would probably choose Fatal Influence. But since it's not, and it's one of those, oh no, there no belts are on the line. So I think it's because I think JC's going to lose it at Evolution.
I hope so, which is sad to say. I love JC, but I
do too. But I think that they're going to either they're going to lose here and win there, or win here and lose there. One of those.
Very fair.
But I'm going to because Jordynne's my girl, and I'm always going to go with Jordynne, so it doesn't matter win or lose.
Yeah, I'm picking Jordynne because she's also my girl, but also because this is Blake's official first NXT match. I'm like, yeah, I feel like Blake losing would not be thing.
No,
so we both have gone with Jordynne and Blake. So next up, we have our match between Javon Evans and Jasper Troy. In my head, I think Jasper's going to win, but just like a couple wrestlers and other promotions, I can never bet against my boys, so I gotta go with Javon on this one.
I am too.
Because I also feel like Javon has been getting beat up a lot the last couple of weeks. He needs a win.
I'm going to be pissed, actually, if Jasper wins this match.
I'm like, Jasper doesn't need to win.
No.
He's so young in his career.
Yes, he's brand new. So I'm going with Javon because he's my boy too, and I don't go against it. So win or lose, I don't care. He's my boy.
All right, so we both got Javon over Jasper. So now let's get into our title matches. So first up, we have the Women's North American Championship match, where we have Sol Ruca defending her championship against Izzy Dame. Again, Shawn Michaels has proven that anything goes, but I'm going with Sol here because I feel like we still have some mileage left for her as our champion. So I'm going with Sol Ruca walking out of Great American Bash as our champion. So
I'm gonna agree with you. Originally, I was flip-flopping on this one. When I pulled it up, I was like, but I went with Sol Ruca eventually, but I don't know. This was a hard one because
I can see Izzy also walking out as champion too, which would be great. Her and Tatum sharing the title would be kind of cute.
It would be cute. So, but I didn't. But I selected Sol Ruca to retain because you're right. She hasn't had it very long, relatively, and I still think she has some mileage left in her.
I do too. So we both got Sol Ruca. So now let's go to the male counterparts of this, because now this is for the men's NXT North American Championship.
Ricky Saints.
Now, yeah, I got Ricky winning here. Now, just to let everybody know, this is a Falls Count Anywhere match because Ricky was able to beat all 3 members of Vanity Project. If he won, he got to pick the stipulation, and Ricky made it a Falls Count Anywhere match. So that means that they're going to fight on the stage. They're going to fight in the audience. I really hope they give me the level of, like, what was it? Like last year, the year before that, Tiffany versus Becky Lynch at No Mercy in that street fight match that they had, which was amazing. That match was so good. So I hope for the NXT Women's Championship, yeah.
Or the level of the Mike Santana and what's his name from the
Ali street fight, yeah.
Ooh, that was, oh my God.
At Rebellion, that was crazy. So I need them to fight. Of course, this is WWE, so we're probably not going to see like intentional blood. But because it's Falls Count Anywhere, they're going to kill each other. But I also have Ricky Saints winning. I think Ethan is ready to move on to a different title scene or to be moved up to the main roster. I think he's ready to do something else and put this feud to bed. Yes. So hopefully Ricky walks out as champion, because I still think Ricky as champion has more mileage.
I agree.
I want Ricky and Javon. That's what I want to see. But we get into our final match, which is probably main eventing, which is our NXT Championship match. Again, this is another one where on one hand, I was like, oh yeah, Obafemi, duh, this is going to be an easy pick. But I'm like, I don't know, because Shawn Michaels likes to do crazy stuff half the time. I sat with this all day today, and I came to a conclusion. I don't care if it loses me a point, but I was like, I have to go with Inamura. I'm going with Inamura here, man. I was just like, because in my head, I'm like, okay. Because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I love Obafemi, but if Inamura loses, there's literally nobody else on this roster left.
Yeah.
Oba has gone through almost all the men already.
And I think it's time for him to lose this belt. I think it's time for him to relinquish. I mean, because how long has he been? He's been in this spot for how long now? God, it feels like 400 years.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm trying to remember. It's
because he took it pretty early on in when he first got there.
I want to say we're coming up like either past it. He's had it forever, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like,
yeah, and it's getting kind of old. I'm not, I love Obafemi. I do. I think he's fan-freaking-tastic. But this, him hanging on to this belt for so long, it's just sort of like, I've really kind of gotten to the point where it's like, who cares? Honestly, who cares? If nobody else has a shot at it, then why are we even focusing on it? You should just retire the belt and move on, because if nobody can take it from him, because he's gone through the roster, twice now? Almost 3 times? Yeah. And it's like, so I'm all for Inamura taking it. He needs to take it. We need to get there. He just needs to be like, booyah, bitch, and take the belt.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So we both got Inamura. We shall see what happens. But those are the predictions for Great American Bash. And that's going to take us to the end of our NXT review. So we appreciate y'all being here. So a little bit of a preview of what's to come for the remainder of the week. So later on in a couple of hours at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, Will and I, as well, we will be joined by our lovely co-host, El Buntador del Segundo, because we are going to be covering CMLL with Los Lobos de la Lucha, which is going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow evening, we are heading back up north for Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling's Resurrection. So the Flannel Fighters is our review team. We're finally getting to put Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling back on our radar again. So that's going to be a fun show. Friday, we have our TNA review. We are 2 weeks away from Slammiversary, and I'm going to be so for real. All hell's probably going to break loose, and I'm here for it. It's getting crazy in TNA land. But then, because wrestling promotions don't know when to just chill, we have a freaking stacked weekend. Saturday morning, I will be doing a short mini review for Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. We are getting a lot of CMLL crossover in this pay-per-view. So this pay-per-view airs Friday. I will be doing a review on Saturday morning. where all the championships are on the line. So it's going to be a fun one. Then the big thing on Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, because we're in Texas. But we will be doing a live watch along for AEW's All in Texas. So we are going to be watching the pay-per-view live. It's going to be great. You know, big matches is crazy. Hopefully all the performers drink water because it's hot in Texas right now. It is hot. It's just crazy. And then, so we're going to round out our weekend Sunday evening by doing a live watch along for WWE Evolution. The WWE crew will be watching. We got 7 matches made. I'm just like, we made the decision that main roster for Raw and SmackDown and WWE as a whole have set these women up to fail by not building this up properly. But you know what? We're doing this watch along because all the women deserve it because they are amazing. And, you know, we're going to support them. Literally, we're called BC WrestlePod, y'all. Like, this is our platform. So if they're not going to give these women their time, we will. So overthrow the patriarchy. So, but that's going to be it for us here. We got to get up on out of here. So thank you so much for tuning in for NXT. We will be back next week to review the Great American Bash. Unfortunately, I will not be here, but Adolfo will be tagging in for me. So it'll be Adolfo and Will, and it will be one of my other WWE boys, Kilt, jumping in to review the Great American Bash 2. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going on vacation next week. So I was like, I'm taking a break, y'all, because I deserve some vacay time. But I will be back to hold everything else down, which is going to be great. But until then, this is going to be it for us here at NXTilosos from us and the BC WrestlePod family. Remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will see you later tonight for CMLL. But until then, sayonara, adios, love yourself, take care of your neighbor, look out for each other in these trying times, especially if you live in the States, and we'll see you later. But until then, ta-ta for now. Peace.